Hello, guys. How you doing this afternoon? Listen, we got some new twists and turns and wrinkles to the financial system. Uh, we've got Turkey. Turkey is a little bit of a black swan sort of thing. Never really saw it coming. It probably should have. Anyway, now it's hit, but it doesn't surprise me any. In these developing economies, I mean, the whole thing. They've borrowed money, and it basically almost works like that book, Tales from an Economic Hitman or whatever. Really. These central banks can print as much money as they want. They can lend you money, and then if you're a country, and then what they can do is then when the loan's required to be paid back, they can take real assets that you have. But anyway, that's not really what I'm getting into right now. What I'm getting into right now is, first off, contagion. Second is, I saw this economic contraction coming months and months ago. I did many a show on it. I called it a deflationary spike event. And a number of things happened that seemingly created inflation when I was expecting more deflation to occur. And it kind of sat me back, and I had to sit back and say, hey, you know what? What really is going on right here, right now? Interest rates, I mean, the bond rate should be rising, and they're falling. And it just didn't make any sense, you know? And the stock market should be losing some ground. It's not. It doesn't make any sense. Some of it didn't make any sense. But now it's starting to make a little bit more sense to me. If I dig around long enough, I can find out what's going on. And this is my job. On the average, I dig in the internet 4 hours a day. And that's on the average. That's research that I put in. And this is my job. My job is to stay on top of the economic situation in the world and report it to you guys on my channel. And so I spend 4 hours a day in research, and if something's going on in the financial system, you'd be amazed what I can find out on the internet. How deep I can dig into little crannies and stuff and find stuff. If you spend 4 hours of research into the economy every day, it's amazing what you'll dig up and what you'll find if you start sniffing around. Well, I didn't really have to do much sniffing to this. It was something that was obvious right under our noses, but none of us have seen it. And what it is if you go back, roll the tape back a few months ago, the cryptocurrencies. Now, I know some of you guys don't like to hear me talk about cryptocurrency. You're going to switch it off right now because you hate cryptocurrency. But I'm not going to talk about cryptocurrency, really. I'm going to talk about what cryptocurrency did. You see, a few months back, if you went back a few months ago and took a look at the cryptocurrency market capitalization, which is not just Bitcoin, but all of the coins together, it was around $750 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. $750 billion. That's $750 billion. Now, when quantitative easing was at its peak, in its peak cycle, they were doing $80 billion a month, pumping it in, and it kept the economy reasonably strong. Strong enough that they could say, hey, we got an economic recovery, and a lot of stupids bought it. Because the economy was strong enough where they could declare economic recovery and actually get away with it, where a lot of people would actually believe it. And the economy was floating along, kind of like, it wasn't really as strong as they said it was, but it wasn't terrible either. It was so-so. It was like if it was a cup of coffee, it would be lukewarm coffee. You know, it wasn't hot, it wasn't cold. It's just like that kind of an economy. Economy that's really going nowhere. But it's supported enough with the $80 billion a month that the Fed could actually come out and say, hey, we got an economic recovery. Now take that $750 billion market capital on cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is like a clearinghouse for money, for dollars. So that money poured into cryptocurrency in dollars, and it caused inflation on the way up. Because the money, when it pours into cryptocurrency, doesn't disappear. It makes its way into the general economy. And on its way out, it poured money into the economy even more. It's a cryptocurrency is a liquidity pump. Better than the Federal Reserve. So if you subtract the it's $215 billion that cryptocurrency is right now from the $750 billion it was, you get about $525 billion. Now spread that out over the last few months, because Bitcoin didn't come down, boom, immediately. It come down kind of in stages to where it is now over the last few months. So spread that $525 billion out over maybe 4 or 5 months. It works out to about $100 billion a month. That's more money than quantitative easing. Quantitative easing at its peak was $80 billion a month. This is about $100 billion a month. And this was the money pouring into the economy that propped the economy up for the last few months. But now it's gone. It's gone. You say, well, where did it go? Well, where did quantitative easing go? All those months of quantitative easing. It just goes in, and that's what it takes to keep the economy on life support. It takes roughly right now about $100 billion a month to keep our economy ticking along. What happens when you think you pull that $100 billion away a month? Well, it hasn't never been pulled away yet. We've had the Federal Reserve supported us through quantitative easing right up until they tapered off. They did the taper. Then they did backdoor quantitative easing up until they decided to call it quits and do quantitative tightening. So we were like carried through right till quantitative tightening. And now, since quantitative tightening started until now, we've had all this money released from cryptocurrencies into the economy and these tax rebates, which basically equals the amount of quantitative easing we had before. So we've been carried right up until this point. Picture a baby being carried across the river. So, like the economy's the baby. He's been carried halfway across the river, right? And the water's cold. All of a sudden, it's the guy who's carrying him, stop walking. That's what's happened to us right now. Because the money coming out of the tax rebates is over. That's done. What do you call it? The money that was pouring out of cryptocurrency, that's done. You can't do it again. Bitcoin fell from 20,000 down to 6,000. It's not going to fall any further much. It's pretty much done. I mean, okay, maybe it could fall another 1,000 or something, but that's not going to be any significant amount of money that we need to run the economy. Remember, we need about $100 billion every month. Now, the Federal Reserve, right now, because they've had all that money pouring in from the cryptocurrencies, pouring in from the Exchange Stabilization Fund, God knows what other sources they've been pouring it in through the back door up till now. The money, right? Gosh only knows they've supported us up till now. They've supported us up until right this point. Now, all of a sudden, the Federal Reserve and all of the central banks on earth have reversed everything, and they've been getting away with it up till now because they've had all this support coming in from other channels. But that's stopping now. So it's like the guy, he's quit walking across the river with the baby. The next step is he's going to drop the baby into the cold water. That's the next step. Right? So the baby hasn't felt the pain yet. He hasn't been plunged into the cold water. This is the economy. I think the economy is teetering on the brink of no more money coming in to support it. No more $100 billion a month. Just in the United States alone needs $100 billion a month. Not counting all these other economies. These emerging market economies I'm going to tell you, they are, and that's what Erdogan and the Turkish, the Turkey is an emerging market economy. These emerging market economies, they're going to be the first to go. They're the periphery of the empire. And this is what we're seeing. But the empire is going to fall. This is the decline and fall of the Roman Empire all over again. Except there's a spin. There's a spin to it. During the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, back in those days, you know, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have, well, a lot of people didn't have running water back then, you know, only in Rome. But as soon as you stepped outside of Rome, all they had was what they've had for thousands of years. What people still have today in a lot of the emerging market economies. People out still use the toilet in the woods or whatever, use it in the back of the woodshed or whatever, or in the garden. This is where they take a dump in the world. But in what we call our part of the world, we have all of these what's called modern conveniences, which are not modern conveniences whatsoever. They only go about making our lives harder. The more, like, I'm going to fuss about it a little bit right here. The new cars, you know, why don't they get rid of all the, I'm mad. I'm mad. The new cars, they keep adding more stuff on. Parking assist, you know, automatic parking, putting vacuum cleaners built into the car, you know, and constantly power windows, power door locks, power brakes, anti-lock braking systems. I keep adding more and more systems to the thing. The thing's getting like there's those stupid bloated jet fighters that the United States government has just paid like $30 billion a piece for. I think they're the X-33 or something like that, or FX-33 or something like that. They used to have the old F-18s. The old F-18s, the guy used to fly by the seat of his pants. He got in there and I think he started the engine with a key or whatever, like a car, you know. Pushed the button and it started and wound the engines up. Great. That's perfect. These new jets, they can't start it without fingerprint recognition and eye scan and retina scan and everything else, and then they have to start off like 4 computers, and it just goes on and on and on. But that's what our new cars are getting like. It's madness. You know, I mean, every time I drive someplace, I'm getting straying from the subject right now, but every time I drive someplace, the gosh darn power door lock pinches my arm. I always like to set my arm up on the door, you know? And the power door lock goes down so quick it pulls my skin down with the one of my under my arm. And it gives me an awful pinch. And it's a black and blue spot under my arm. That's our car manufacturers. I don't want all this crap in my car. I do not want power door locks. I do not want heated seats. I do not want 5 buttons on the seat. 1 button takes the seat up, 1 button takes the seat down. I don't want this crap. I don't want power backup and things on my rear bumper that tell me if somebody's behind my car. I want to be able to back up if somebody's back there. I'm going to look. I'm going to look with my own eyes to see if somebody's behind me. I don't want backup assist or whatever they want to call it. I don't want this stuff on my cars anymore. I want the cars to be stripped out, basic, just a car. I don't even want floor mats. I just want the car to come stripped out. If I want floor mats, I'll add floor mats when I want floor mats. I just want the old roll-up windows, you know. But I want them to work good. They've forgotten how to even make a roll-up window, for crying out loud. The goddamn thing, it just kind of sticks and you can't push it so hard, you end up breaking the handle to try to get it to go up and down. They don't even know how to make it anymore. That's because they're making all these power windows. Getting sick of it. So you know the problem with us as a people? We've been sitting back and taking it too long. We're too interested in our cell phones and too interested in all these novelties that's keeping us amused. We're not watching while these guys are messing everything up. And they're doing it all over. Suddenly, we're going to wake up one day to a crash, a monstrous crash worldwide, and it's sneaking up on most people out there. It's not sneaking up on me. It's not sneaking up on the people who watch my channel. We're watching it unfold. as it's happening right now. Turkey is having huge problems right now. Italy's on the brink. While nobody's been looking today, well, nobody's been looking, Deutsche Bank has been slipping down. She's sliding the slippery slope to hell, boys. Honest to God. And so this is what we got going on in the world. There's one thing teetering after another. I did shows a few weeks ago showing the situation in China right now, how they've built all the real estate. 60% of the Chinese economy is real estate, for crying out loud. And they got these skyscrapers going up into the sky, and they're built on old farmers' fields. And there's no roads or anything in there, and they're all empty. But every apartment in those buildings has all been sold for sky-high exorbitant prices. Prices like you wouldn't believe. Prices like you'd only find in other places like Toronto, for instance. Where Toronto, Canada. Where we've got real estate prices that are absolutely stupid. Stupid. You know? And this is all going to collapse. And those buildings, quite literally, in China might quite literally collapse. Because they've rushed to put them together, and you know how the Chinese like to make things. The Chinese love making money, and they love cutting corners. They're hard workers, very hard workers. They're very ingenious. They're very smart, and they can make good things if they want to. Let me tell you what, they can make really good things if they want to. They know how. But the thing is when they can get, and they can see a little spot where they can slip through there and slip some straw into the cement, and get away with it, they will do it. If they can slip some cardboard into the cement to make the cement go farther in the building, and they know it's going to last 10 years, and they're not worried because they ain't going to be there in 10 years anyway, they'll slip it in there. And this is what they've done, you know. I've seen videos on YouTube, these guys that are actually in China, up close and personal to these buildings, filming these buildings. And he was like picking at the cement, and the cement was just flaking off. And this was a support column. And he says, "What's that underneath it? Is that like cardboard, or is it like plywood, or what underneath the cement?" You know, they're filler. It's what it is. It's fillers. They're cutting corners. You know? So this is stuff we got going on in the world. The world is getting ready to collapse. The whole world's getting ready to collapse simultaneously because the central banks, we've had an expansion of credit that has went across the whole world. And now the central banks have decided to contract that credit. And well, we're seeing the first initial signs of it. Today, we're seeing the first initial signs of it. Of a credit contraction. Gold falling. Silver falling. Oil prices falling. Falling commodity prices right there. We're seeing the dollar going up. Right? Bitcoin is feeling the pressure right now. And it's not falling like the others, but it's feeling the pressure. Now, this is exactly what I said in my talks. I said that initially, when the first wave of this credit crunch comes in and the stock market falls to 20,000, in my talks, 20,000 was the mark. When the stock market falls to 20,000, on its way down to 20,000, Bitcoin's going to rise. And the reason why is they're going to perceive it as a safe haven asset. This is what I said. I'm still sticking by that. I believe that this will happen. And then what's going to happen is next is when the stock market falls below 20,000 in a credit crunch scenario, what will happen then is panic's going to set in worldwide. Panic like the panic they had during the Great Depression. Financial panic and fear is going to enter in. And then there's going to be only three assets that's going to do good at that point. That's gold, silver, and the dollar. Everything else is just going to just crumble. You know? And this is the thing. And the dollar is going to do good to a certain point. As this credit crunch gets worse and worse, and as this deflation gets worse and worse, the central banks at a certain point will have to react to it. And when the central banks react to it, that's when the dollar's going to finally die. And that's when gold and silver is going to shine, so is the cryptocurrencies at that point. So it's all about the timing. If you buy into the right asset classes at the right times, and then when all of this is over, you're going to do very, very, very well for yourself. But it's going to be hard to time this whole thing right. It's going to be all about timing. So listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and hey, we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye for now, guys.